Everyone knows about D-Day, the beaches of Normandy, the storm of fire, and the bravery that changed history. But few know the secret war that made it possible. Long before the landings, a web of deception, sabotage, and espionage was woven across Europe. It was a war fought in silence, by spies, double agents, and ghosts who never fired a bullet. This is the story of the covert Allied operations that turned the tide of World War II and the heroes history almost forgot. In 1943, the Allies faced an impossible problem. They planned to invade Nazi-occupied Europe, but success depended on one thing: surprise. If the Germans guessed the invasion's location, the beaches would become slaughterhouses. So, while generals prepared armies, another force prepared illusions. The goal was simple: make Hitler look the wrong way. Thus began Operation Bodyguard, the grand deception strategy behind D-Day. Its purpose was to convince the Germans that the real invasion would strike anywhere except Normandy. It wasn't one plan, but many. A symphony of lies stretching from London to the Mediterranean. From fake armies to phantom radios, every trick in the book was used, and the orchestra of deception played perfectly. At the heart of Bodyguard was a network of double agents, men and women who risked everything to feed false intelligence to the Nazis. Among them was Juan Pujol Garcia, codenamed Garbo, perhaps the greatest double agent in history. A Spanish spy pretending to serve Germany, Garbo built an entirely fake network of subagents. He sent hundreds of reports, all invented, that the Germans believed completely. He became so trusted that Berlin awarded him the Iron Cross for lying. Garbo's masterpiece was Operation Fortitude, the deception that fooled Hitler himself. He convinced German intelligence that the Allied invasion would target Pas-de-Calais, not Normandy. To sell the illusion, the Allies built a fake army, the first U.S. Army group, complete with inflatable tanks, wooden planes, and dummy landing craft. At its head was none other than General George S. Patton, the most aggressive commander the Germans feared. To Hitler, the evidence was undeniable: the invasion would come at Calais. Meanwhile, the real invasion force gathered in secret along England's southern coast. Every radio transmission, every movement was carefully disguised. Fake signals mimicked whole divisions. False shipping logs misled German spies. The illusion was so complete that even German reconnaissance aircraft photographed dummy camps filled with empty tents. Normandy was practically invisible, but deception alone wasn't enough. Across occupied Europe, resistance fighters, spies, and saboteurs worked to prepare the battlefield. They cut railway lines, destroyed bridges, and assassinated key officers. French partisans, supported by the Special Operations Executive, So-Yo, coordinated sabotage that would paralyze German reinforcements once D-Day began. Their courage, often unacknowledged, was the invisible artillery of liberation. One of the most daring missions came from Operation Jedburgh. Teams of 3, 1 British, 1 American, 1 French, parachuted behind enemy lines weeks before the invasion. Their orders: organize resistance cells, gather intelligence, and sow chaos. Armed only with radios, explosives, and sheer nerve, they coordinated local uprisings at the precise moment the invasion began. Without them, German counterattacks could have reached the beaches before the Allies established a foothold. While the Jedburghs fought in the shadows, another silent war unfolded above. The Royal Air Force and U.S. Army Air Forces executed an intricate bombing campaign to confuse German command. They targeted railway hubs and communication centers but avoided coastal defenses to preserve the illusion. Meanwhile, decoy missions dropped thousands of radar reflective strips, window, to create phantom fleets on German radar. Normandy's defenders were blinded before the first landing craft appeared. Among the most brilliant deception operations was Operation Glimmer and Operation Taxable. As the real armada sailed for Normandy, small groups of aircraft flew parallel routes, dropping radar chaff to mimic massive fleets heading for Calais. German coastal defenses turned their guns northward, firing at ghosts. For hours, they waited for an invasion that never came. By the time they realized the truth, the real invasion was already ashore. The deception extended to the seas as well. British naval intelligence created fake radio chatter from non-existent convoys, complete with weather reports and routine messages. They even sent dummy signals from Patton's Ghost Army, ensuring the Germans stayed convinced. Meanwhile, Allied commandos quietly eliminated radar stations along the French coast. The Nazis saw everything, except what mattered. Perhaps the strangest chapter of the deception war came with Operation Mincemeat, years before D-Day. In 1943, British intelligence planted false invasion plans on a corpse dressed as a Royal Marine officer. The body was set adrift off the coast of Spain, where German agents quickly discovered it. The plans indicated an Allied attack on Greece, not Sicily, and the Germans moved their forces accordingly. The Allies invaded Sicily unopposed, a success that inspired all later deception efforts. Back in France, the SOE's female agents became legends of courage. Women like Violette Chabot, Odette Sansom, and Nancy Wake operated deep in enemy territory, carrying messages, coordinating ambush, and smuggling weapons. They were hunted relentlessly by the Gestapo. Some were captured, tortured, and executed, yet they never betrayed their comrades. Their sacrifices kept the machinery of resistance alive. In the months before D-Day, German intelligence received over 200 separate reports confirming Calais as the invasion target. All were false, planted by the Allies. Every photograph, every decoded signal, and every whisper reinforced the same lie. By June 5, 1944, Hitler was so convinced that he personally ordered the panzer divisions to remain near Calais. It was the single most costly misjudgment of his career. Then came the morning of June 6, 1944. While Allied troops stormed the beaches of Normandy, the deception campaign continued. Garbeau reported that the Normandy invasion was just a diversion, insisting the real attack would come later at Calais. Berlin believed him. For 2 crucial weeks, the German 15th Army stayed idle while the Allies secured the beachhead. Historians later called it one of the greatest strategic manipulations in military history. Every piece, the fake army, the false intelligence, the phantom fleets, had worked in harmony. The Germans had been outsmarted, not outgunned. The battle for Europe had been won long before the first soldier landed. And the heroes of that victory never saw the spotlight. Behind the brilliance of these operations were ordinary men and women, linguists, artists, mathematicians, even stage magicians. Dudley Clark, the mastermind of many Allied deceptions, used tricks learned from theater to fool Nazi reconnaissance. His team once built a fake port out of painted canvas. Every illusion they created bought real soldiers another chance to live. It was a different kind of warfare, one fought with imagination and courage. At Bletchley Park, cryptographers working under Alan Turing and Dilly Knox ensured the deception remained believable. By decrypting German Enigma messages, they could monitor whether the lies were working. When reports confirmed Hitler's belief in Calais, they knew the ruse was complete. Information warfare had reached its most brilliant moment. The war of minds had triumphed over the war of steel. Even after D-Day succeeded, Allied deception continued. Operations Ironside, Vendetta, and Zeppelin kept the Germans guessing about further invasions. By spreading false rumors of new landings in Norway, the Balkans, and southern France, they diluted German defenses across the continent. Every day the enemy hesitated was a day the Allies advanced. Victory was now a matter of time. For the men fighting on the beaches, none of this was visible. They faced bullets, mines, and chaos, unaware that their survival depended on a silent army of deceivers. The radio static that confused German gunners, the missing panzer divisions, the delayed reinforcements, all were the invisible hand of deception. Without it, Omaha Beach might have been a massacre beyond imagination. The unseen had saved the scene. Even Hitler's own staff reinforced the illusion. When reports arrived that Normandy was the real invasion, he refused to believe them. Convinced by Garbeau's reports, he insisted the Calais attack was imminent. For days, German generals begged for permission to redeploy. By the time Hitler realized his mistake, it was too late. As Allied troops pushed inland, resistance groups launched coordinated uprisings. Railways burned, telegraph lines were cut, and German reinforcements were ambushed at every turn. In Paris alone, over 1,000 acts of sabotage crippled the German response. Every explosion, every fallen bridge, echoed the invisible network of Allied planning. The liberation of Europe was being written not just in battles, but in secrets. After the war, the full extent of these covert operations was revealed slowly. Documents declassified in the 1970s painted a picture of genius and collaboration unlike any other. The intelligence war had been as decisive as the landings themselves. It showed that truth can be shaped, and sometimes lies can save lives. Even generals admitted that without deception, Normandy might have failed. Historians now see Operation Bodyguard as the foundation of modern intelligence strategy. Its methods, misinformation, decoys, electronic interference are still used today. The psychological aspect of warfare had evolved. Battles were no longer won solely by strength, but by control of perception. The Allies had proven that knowledge and illusion were the most powerful weapons of all. But not all deceptions were clean. Many spies who served bravely were later forgotten or silenced. Some double agents were executed by their own side once the war ended, their usefulness gone. Garbo himself faked his death and disappeared to South America. Even heroes of shadows must eventually fade back into them. When the guns finally fell silent in 1945, the world celebrated victory, but the ghosts of deception remained. Thousands of people had lived double lives, trapped between truth and lies. They had manipulated entire armies without firing a shot. Their courage was quiet, their victories invisible. Yet without them, history might have ended on the beaches of Normandy. In the decades that followed, filmmakers and historians focused on the battles: Omaha, Utah, Gold, Juno, Sword. Few told the story of the phantom armies and secret agents who made those beaches possible. But for those who knew the truth, the real miracle of D-Day wasn't just bravery, it was belief. The belief that illusion could protect life, and that intellect could defeat tyranny. That belief won a war. Today, the tools of deception have changed. Satellites instead of spies, algorithms instead of agents. But the lessons of 1944 remain. War is fought not just with weapons, but with perception, timing, and trust. The men and women who orchestrated D-Day's shadow war proved that truth itself can be a weapon when wielded by those who understand it. Their story is a reminder that the mind is mightier than the gun. From Garbo's lies to the Jetbora's bravery, every thread of deception was woven into one grand tapestry. It was proof that victory requires more than muscle. It demands imagination. The greatest battles of World War II weren't always fought in daylight. Many were fought in whispers. The soldiers who fought in the dark left no monuments, only freedom. And that, perhaps, is their greatest legacy. If you've made it this far, you've seen how truth and illusion shaped the outcome of the greatest war in history. The story of D-Day isn't just about courage on the beaches. It's about the minds that won the war before it began. Subscribe to uncover more hidden operations, forgotten heroes, and secret histories that changed our world. Because sometimes the most powerful victories are the ones no one ever saw.